And I'd like to call the June 17th, 2024 meeting of the Person Board of County Commissioners to order at this time. Recognizing that we do have a quorum, but Commissioner Sims is absent due to a family emergency situation, so he will not be with us today, but we still have a quorum and we will proceed, and I will lead us in an invocation, after which I would ask the Commissioner Thomas to lead us in our pledge. So if you desire, pray with me. Father God, we thank you for this day, the opportunity of being here. We thank you for the freedom and the privileges that we have in this country. Pray for those that protect us to do so with law enforcement, with our military, and those that are all over the world protecting our freedoms today. Lead, guide, and direct our thoughts, our deeds, and our decisions here today. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Please rise. Please pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is discussion, adjustment, or approval of the agenda as presented.
Move for approval.
Have a motion for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. At this point in our meeting, we do have a period of time set aside for public comment, and most of you know the procedures, but we do have 10 minutes set aside, and please remember the quorum and civility during your presentation, and you are speaking directly to the entire board and not individual board members. And please be aware of the time clock that'll be on the screen. And Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have?
Chairman, we have two.
Two, so if you so desire, 5 minutes each would be just fine. So who is our first speaker?
All right, if I can instruct IT to set the timer for 5 minutes. The first speaker is Andrea Childers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Andrea Childers. I've been a resident of Person County for 31 years. I come here to ask the board to reverse their zoning decision made on December 4th, 2023. At the very least, to protect the residents of this community, I ask for an independent environmental impact study be conducted before MEC is built. You all have the power to do that. A party barn at Hyco Lake. Project Log, Woodsdale. MEC, Mariah. What do all three of these things have in common? The commonality is as follows. A small group of Personians stand to profit from these transactions, while neighbors buy these facilities. Families, homes, health and well-being are put into immediate danger. Pleas for help and support by these residents go ignored by this board. This all being done under the guise of economic development. But the fact of the matter is, this board really doesn't want growth in Person County, because growth would mean people not from around here moving into this county, asking questions, and demanding something different from the status quo. They don't want outsiders' opinions or knowledge. This board doesn't want to be transparent. They want to continue making behind closed doors deals, helping that same group of small group of people, while the rest of us Personians are sacrificed. The only thing this board wants from new residents is for them to pay their taxes, keep their mouth shut, and as evident by the new alarm system implemented last week, which was so-called legal, it's clearly an attempt to intimidate and silence residents of this county. Yet another action this board has taken that you can be proud of.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Don Aarons.
Good morning, Don Aarons,
Morning.
Person County, 108 Elderberry Lane. As you probably know, we have been taking water samples and pictures of the streams that are being polluted by the Mariah Energy Center. We've been passing this information on to the Division of Water Resources. Consequently, they went out and inspected on May 30th. At sediment basin number 1, sediment was found to be leaving through the riparian buffer, a silt fence, and a check dam. DWR requested that this sediment be removed by hand. At sediment basin number 3, sediment was found in the pond east of the basin. DWR advised the site manager to evaluate measures to prevent sediment from entering the pond. Because MEC was blasting, sediment basin 2 was not evaluated. This inspection only happened because the community complained and the community sampled and the community complained. The community will continue to sample and continue to complain because it's obvious that MEC doesn't really care about the environment. This is an article from an LNG company in Tacoma, Washington. They gave the town $5.5 million for the fire department because they know LNG is dangerous. You can still protect us. Please require a risk management plan from Dominion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, that concludes our informal comments.
Thank you. Item number 1 on our agenda is discussion, adjustment, approval of the consent agenda as presented. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented. Chairman Powell.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. Item number 2, new business for us, fiscal year budget ordinance. Manager Kathy and Amy Weinberg, the money people.
That's right. Good morning, Commissioners. You have before you this morning the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance for adoption. There are hard copies at your seats, and it was shared with you last week via email. Within the agenda packet, we provided a summary of the adjustments that were made to the manager's recommended budget. If you will recall, about a month ago, we did the recommended budget presentation. We had a public hearing scheduled on June 30th, but we did not have any members of the public come to speak on that. And then the board did have 2 budget work sessions the following week. So based on all of that discussion and review, we are now here with the budget ordinance, which does incorporate the adjustments that the board had requested before you for approval this morning. At the last meeting, you did request that the Emergency Services Director make a presentation on the ALS 360 lease program, and he does plan to do that at the July 15th meeting. So that is not included in the recommended budget. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm available, and Amy is available as well.
Missed that last statement. What was not included?
The ALS 360 lease program for emergency medical services, we did pull the cost of the lease out, and we did add back in the maintenance and service agreements that are needed for our current equipment.
Thank you.
And a reminder on that, that was sort of a 2-pronged approach. That was a 10-year plan.
Yes,
Right.
the lease agreement for the
Yeah,
emergency
right.
medical services equipment.
Okay. All right. Discussion. Motion.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the budget for fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
We do have a motion on the floor. Now, any further discussions, comments, thoughts? Say again, appreciate the efforts to bring this budget to the board, to the citizens without a tax increase, and maybe some other comments later, but thank you, staff, for doing that, making it work. Okay. No other discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is a resolution authorizing Person County Sheriff to enter into training agreements. And Sheriff Whitman, good morning, sir.
Morning, how are y'all?
Good.
Morning.
Lieutenant Gill is gonna be up here also if y'all have any questions. He did, most of the legwork on this, agreement, along with the county manager and county attorney, so, they should answer any questions if I don't have the answer to them. But I'm here this morning to present to you guys the, resolution to enter in with new recruits that we hire at the sheriff's office that have not attended any type of basic law enforcement training academy or basic, detention officer training academy. The basic law enforcement training academy, which I refer to now as BLET, is about almost a 6-month course now. The BDOT, the basic detention officer training, is about 5 weeks of training that we pay for to get them certified if we hire them without the certification. So I'm bringing to you a resolution to where it states that the Person County Sheriff is hereby authorized to enter into training agreements with new recruits to the Sheriff's Office which mandate the full or partial reimbursement of BLET, other training at uniform cost if a recruit leaves employment with the county in less than 3 years from the time of certification as a law enforcement officer by the state of North Carolina. And Section 2, a sample training agreement is attached to as Attachment A. The sheriff may, in consultation with the county's attorney's office, modify the terms of the agreement as necessary and appropriate without further authorization from the Person County Board of Commissioners. These types of agreements are becoming pretty common across the state. I think when I first entered into this career about 25 years ago, I applied for an agency, and they actually wanted me to sign a contract with them then, but I didn't. I stayed home. It was an out-of-town contract. I know several of our surrounding agencies and counties and municipalities do the same type of agreement with new recruits. Actually, the North Carolina State Highway Patrol has legislation passed to where they also require the same reimbursement over 36 months. And I think that's more common, is a 36-month, 3-year contract agreement. That's what I have.
You say you did not sign the agreement.
Oh, yeah, I was with Durham PD. I didn't sign, because I wanted to stay home. I was just out looking, and so I stayed home.
I'll later that. I stayed home a lot too.
Yeah.
Most times. And I appreciate you coming and explaining that. To me, we had read this, and it was part of the consent agenda last meeting, and I asked that it be moved to an agenda item to have a little better insight into the rationale and the reasoning for, and I understand the recruitment. That's hard.
Yeah.
And so whatever tools we can use to justify that, then I'm fine with it. So, but again, I appreciate you coming and explaining, and what we had in the agenda packet helped as well. And so those are my comments. Any other questions, Sheriff?
One, did I overhear you say that, I probably have read this, but refresh my memory, if a new recruit comes in and he leaves out before a 3-year period, you want him,
Or reimburse the county for the cost of sending them through training, through
the
schools, salaries.
recruits,
Yes,
to reimburse the county?
yes.
All in
And it breaks down after each year of service, or even like Highway Patrol does, state is after each month.
Okay.
So, and it'd just be prorated, I think we spoke with the county manager about that. So, if they serve or work with us 1 year after they are certified, that price comes down. 2 years, the
Right.
price comes down, percentage.
The longer they work towards that 3-year goal,
Correct.
the better off they
And then, knock on wood, I was just telling Sonia and Mariana, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we will be fully staffed, patrol and detention, with part-time reserve in the detention center. And I know less than almost 2 years ago, I know Sheriff Jones was here talking to you guys where we were 14, 15 short in detention center. So, you know, that has been a huge increase. And we're talking about contracts. I've got 2 applicants now that want to come work at the sheriff's office as patrol deputies, but they're under contract with other agencies, so they're waiting for their contracts to terminate so they can come work for Person County. But as of right now, I don't have any room for them. And hopefully we'll stay that way. Which I know we got some retirements coming.
I hope it works as a retention tool. It's not, I mean, I guess, but what's the success rate in recovery of?
That, I don't know. They may have the answers for that as
I
far as.
don't know either. Just
I don't know.
the thought just came to me.
Yeah.
so.
You know, and like I said, the applicants that have come to me wanting to come work at the sheriff's office, they are honoring that contract they have with that agency who spent the money to send them through the school to get them their certification. So they're honoring that, and that's respectful in my
So
opinion.
percentage-wise, you're looking at a very low percentage that would leave.
Correct. I know in the
I
past,
only know of one since I've been on this board that came in, was trained, and she did not make, well, the individual did not make it.
I know we've had 2, I do believe, that we sent through school, and within a couple of weeks, once they were certified, they went to another agency.
Probably for the jingle.
Absolutely.
That's before we brought up pay rate.
That's right. Now we're very competitive with our surrounding agencies, so.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, board members? All right, have a motion.
Move to approve the resolution.
Have a motion on the floor for approval of the resolution as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, Keith. Item number 4 on the agenda is retiree health insurance policy and DSS overnight supervision incentive pay. Ms. Carr.
Yep. Good morning, Commissioners. I want to start by giving you a sincere thank you to the Commissioners and our County Manager for supporting our cost of living increase in the budget, as well as the benefit enhancements that we were able to get adopted in this budget. So moving on, we have a slideshow once IT puts that up. So we want to talk about first retiree health insurance policy. So we did a survey of 19 counties. We did check with more, but these are the 19 that we were able to get to respond to us. One of the questions that have been brought up with our current policy is the continuous service. So out of the 19 that we surveyed, 8 counties require continuous service. And as you can see, the rest of the counties are a combination of different things. They talk about, you know, if you do leave the county you're working for, to have a limited amount of break of service to come back. Some looks at the total number of retirement in the retirement system, the total years of credible service. And we did find one county, which is Warren County, that does not even offer retiree health insurance any longer. So our current policy, this is what our current policy states, and what is in discussion today is the continuous employment wording. We are recommending that we leave the policy in place as it is worded. The wording of continuous allows us to retain employees. They have a goal to work towards. They have an investment in our county without leaving and then coming back. One of the things that we cannot stress enough about is sustainability. So we want to have a conservative approach to our retiree health insurance policy because it has a rather large price tag on it. And I've given you an example. If an employee retires at age 55, in each increment 30, 25, and 20 years, how much we would pay in health insurance premiums alone. And then that does not include the cost. And it's, you know, a given, and our current policy shows with Cigna that the older you get, the more health insurance you do have, the more claims you're going to have. It just comes with age. So that is one of the higher costs that the county has on our health insurance claims. An alternative option, if you do not want to stay with the continuous wording, we would recommend, if you want to include a break of service, that you cap it at the employee would have to return to work in less than a year. And then they would have to be committed and stay with us for a minimum of 5 years moving forward. We don't want someone to come back and need 2 more years to retire with the retirement system, and they work for us for 2 years on their second time back, no matter how many years, and we keep them on our health insurance until 65 at Medicare age. Any questions about our current policy and what we have an alternative option here?
I don't know that I have any questions, but I got some notes I'd like to read.
Sure.
Excuse me. In a previous discussion, you mentioned that maintaining fairness in the distribution of benefits across the county departments that have different dynamics that include working hours and working conditions. And as we just spoke back there, to me, the sheriff's department, the EMS, those that are in emergency services, by my standards, should be prioritized. I know your job's tough. I know everybody who works for this county's job is tough. But going forward, as you presented us with 18, 19 different counties, Alamance allows combining prior years of 5 years originally served plus 5 years upon returning. The example really is non-relevant. Roxborough City provides insurance at 50% after 10 years of continual service, which we require 20. Caswell, eligibility based on total years in the retirement system with at least half of the time served with Caswell County. So that means they could work for Greensboro, Roxborough, any other county and come back and still get their retirement. Franklin County. If there is a break in service, service would be combined as long as the second employment period totals a minimum of 10 years, which we have an employee now that actually meets this one and all the others. Rowan County. Consecutive years of service includes reinstatement years following a break in service. That's another case. Of the 5 different comparisons shown and brought forward, Mr. Oakley clearly falls into the 5 provided. I make a recommendation that we approve his health insurance at 50%.
I don't believe that is part of this discussion. That would be a separate issue, I think.
Right, we're looking at the policy now. What you're referring to has already been discussed, but the board requested that we bring the retiree health insurance policy back for discussion today, so you could consider whether or not you want to make any policy changes going forward to the policy that applies across the board to all employees.
Okay, so I'd make a recommendation that we adhere to the 5 previous ones that I just brought out. We change our policy to meet theirs.
Are you saying accept this as presented?
No.
Okay, what part?
Whatever part it takes out that will allow for a employee in any department, especially sheriff and EMS, to be brought back into service, give them their 14 or 10 or 5 years prior service added on to the other 10 that's requested.
Your response?
The staff does not recommend that. I feel like it will hurt our retiree health insurance pool. I feel like you're gonna get so many retirees in that pool that it's gonna be hard for us as a county to budget it and sustain with having such leniency into how we determine services into the criteria that you have to get to be eligible for the health insurance for retirees. And that's a goal for our employees. Like, we want people to invest in our county and in our local government, regardless of what position they're in. Everybody brings a lot to the table. I do respect our public safety, and we think highly of them, but we also think highly, and we want our employees to know we apply our benefits fairly across the board.
Can we not consider that this individual ran for sheriff, he did not get elected, he went with the city of Roxbury, which is within the jurisdiction of Person County?
Sir, that's all due respect, Commissioner, that's a total different subject that has been addressed and taken care of by this board previously. So, I mean, that issue is
That's passed, Charlie.
passed.
So in other words, we're wasting our time here today.
No, what,
No.
Charlie, if you, we were talking about the policy here, and
Okay.
whether, now, my understanding, if you keep the policy and there's employee that has extenuating circumstances, just as what you were talking about, they can request to come to the Board of Commissioners and have the board consider, and and those cases have been very far and few between on that, and so,
Right.
yeah. But they, employees would still have that option to come to the board.
I'm assuming that would be the direction.
That's correct, Mr. Purrier.
Okay.
In a case-by-case,
In a case by case.
as we talked about with the case that Commissioner
Mhm.
Palmer's talking about,
And I completely understand how Commissioner Palmer is passionate about this issue, and understanding the importance of our EMS and our sheriff's department as well. But like I said, it's very, very few, and some of them are different circumstances involved here. So if we want to keep the policy as is, and they still have that option to come to us to be reinstated just as previous people have done in the past.
and I think what you're saying there and what has been presented pretty much covers
Mhm.
that unknown
Yes.
period of time in there with,
Can you pull up that slide again?
Good cause.
The option.
alternative option.
Alternative option.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a different approach to, that 1 year window where maybe I do leave employment and I realize that my new job was not what Person County had to offer me. So that does give a little bit of leniency, for the employee that does leave, and a reasonable amount of time to come back to us. Like I said, this is our second recommendation, definitely not the recommended, and then it also sets a criteria where I know I have to be committed to our county for a minimum of 5 years to give some more service to reach the retiree health insurance. It kind of looks after our employee in a sense, and then it looks after the county too, so far as being able to sustain our retiree health insurance benefit.
And this does to cover any event where, well, things change.
Right.
Circumstances change. And sometimes the grass is not greener.
Absolutely.
And we have to admit that was a bad choice on my part, so I've got the option of coming back within that period of time. And that's, I think, a good recruitment tool, as we talked about with the sheriff's office. And, again, trying to do the most we can to benefit our employees and keep them on the job, keep them in the county employment.
Right.
So, any further discussion or motion?
My final
Okay, yes, sir.
My final thought is, the man has spent 31 years of public service, most of it with the county sheriff's department. Part-time as a jailer, part-time reserve, total of 31 years. He left because he had to, because he ran for sheriff. He didn't get elected. He did not get his job back because he ran against a superior officer. And that superior officer did bring him back. So I don't, I don't agree with this at all. And I'll state it loud and clear, I don't agree with this. The man deserves, after 31 years, basically his whole working career with this county, whether it was 4 years in the city or not, it still was within the county. So,
Charlie, we, remember we've already discussed that at a previous meeting, and remember what we talked, and that was a closed session.
and my understanding was gonna bring it to,
No, we made a decision on that particular issue, and this is completely separate. This has nothing to, that's a completely separate issue.
I have to go back and look at the minutes, cause I don't remember.
Okay, all right, but this is a policy issue right here.
Okay, on this policy as presented, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the alternative option on that, giving employees, up to 1 year to be reinstated.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor. Any other discussion or further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we got that, Madam Clerk, and thank you. So I guess you're still,
I have one more, yes, sir. I do. So we wanted to talk to you about Social Services Overnight Supervision Incentive Plan. As you are aware, there have been times where we've had to have staff members stay after hours, over the weekend, over holidays, with children that did not have a foster care home to go to. They are on a volunteer basis, and sometimes it's hard to reach that volunteer, but we definitely want to leave it to where it is a voluntary status and give some incentive to have people volunteer to stay. This policy, so the non-exempt employees, they will still continue to be paid overtime or gain comp time if needed. And then exempt employees, they currently do not receive additional pay for these duties. This is what we would like the policy to look like if you so choose. We will provide overnight supervision shift for shifts 1, 2, and 3, and this include holidays and weekends. First shift, if it's a weekday, we'll get $25 and then $50 on the weekend. Second shift, $50 weekday, $75 weekend. Third shift is $75 weekday, $100 weekend. And we've broken down what we expect the shifts to look like to the employees. If the shift occurs on a county holiday, we'd like to give them an additional $50 pay incentive to have the shift covered to look after the children. And then this, again, additional incentive will not replace the employee's ability to be paid overtime during when they're doing these job duties. Any questions?
Where do we house these individuals at?
They actually, if there's not a home for the children to go to, they stay at social services at the building.
At the shelter?
Yeah, at the, well, it's not necessarily in the FEMA shelter, it's probably a mixture of the offices.
Offices and meeting rooms and
So,
services.
do you have like fold-out beds or?
Yeah, so there's couches, it's things of that nature, because these rooms, my understanding is that these rooms are typically used for like visitation purposes. And so in the event that a child is needed to stay overnight, that they just use them for that purpose.
Okay.
And the policy, just while I have the floor, if I may, the policy that's being recommended or suggested here and presented is akin to other policies that other departments of social services have adopted. Jackson County, which has a similar population size and therefore deals with a similar caseload, is one of the counties that our Department of Social Services has conferred with in preparing what you see before you today.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
it's sad and undesirable, but something we certainly need to address, and it's very difficult. Normally, we would not even hardly know how to deal with in our mind the thought process to having these situations occur, but they do.
They do.
And it's very sad. So, again, I think this incentive to help get the supervisory person on those shifts would be important.
Yes.
Because we need to take care of our children, and they all aren't in the good home setting they need and deserve, but, again, we need to do what we can. And I don't know, going forward, it's another subject, I guess, about, where do they sleep during this time and how things are done. I don't have an answer for that, but, possibly going forward as we take full control of that facility, could bedding be provided, or?
That is something that we can look at as we evaluate options for remodeling
Okay.
the space. And we'll evaluate at that time what the level of ongoing need is for that. The state has made some changes which hopefully will help with placements, and will determine, what the needs are as we move forward.
And I realize it's a separate concern here, but, back to Sonia's presentation here, we have, any other questions?
I think this is very much needed. When I was on the DSS board, they went for a stretch for weeks where they had employees have to stay consecutive, it was consecutive 4 to 5, 6 weeks at a time, where they had to have somebody at DSS every single night. So this is much needed. And as far as bedding, yeah, they have bed. It's like you said, it's like an office room, but there's beds, there's couches. It's not a home setting, but it's doable because there's usually somebody there at least once a week, where they have to have kids stay overnight. But I'm all in favor too of looking into remodeling it to where we can make it a little bit more home setting for it.
Okay.
But I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, we have
incentive
a motion on
plan.
the floor for approval. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Appreciate everything. Item number 5 on the agenda is preliminary resolution and call for public hearing, and that's Lady Wonder.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am requesting action on the resolution included in your agenda packet to authorize the negotiation of an installment financing contract and direct the publication of notice that is related to the upcoming bond issuance in August. In short, the resolution provides for the following. It designates and authorizes certain county officials to proceed and negotiate on behalf of the county the contract in an amount not to exceed $22 million to finance the acquisition of the Human Services and Carolina Car Wash buildings, roof repairs at South Elementary School, and improvements and equipment replacement at the recycling center. It identifies the security for the county's obligation, a deed of trust conveying a lien and interest in South Elementary School. Authorizes the chief financial officer or her designee to file with the local government commission an application for its approval of the contract and to include financial related data that will enable the LGC to make required determinations. It provides direction and authority to the CFO and her staff to retain certain professionals as determined to carry out the transaction contemplated in this resolution. It states that a public hearing shall be conducted by the board on July 15th, 2024, concerning the contract, the deed of trust, and the proposed financing of the 2024 projects. And finally, the resolution directs the clerk to the board to cause a notice of the public hearing to be published once in a qualified newspaper of general circulation within the county no fewer than 10 days prior to the public hearing. Unless you have any questions at this time, I request that you approve this resolution and authorize the call for the public hearing as necessary.
Board member questions, comments, anybody? Well stated. Have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution as presented and, if needed, set a public hearing.
Have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Opposed? None motion carried. Thank you, ma'am. Item number 6 on the agenda is funding request for Person Industries and Material Recycling Facility, Special Revenue Fund. Ms. Dawson.
Good morning.
A new name, too.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, Manager. I am here today to request a fund balance appropriation of $351,000 from the general fund to Person Industries for fiscal '24. This request is to ensure that the Person Industries and MRF fund does not end the fiscal year in a deficit. I do have a slideshow presentation. If IT could pull that up for me, please. As you can see, this current fiscal year, we experienced some reductions and delays in our revenues. We were continued to be affected by the public emergency order with Appendix K expansion that, and also changes in vocational rehabilitation services, which totaled a revenue reduction of $236,777. This, we are also experiencing some delayed payments from Medicaid and state-funded services, and we have an anticipated $150,000 to be received this year. Due to that extension of the public health emergency, which finally ended in February of this year, we had 8 consumers that we were anticipating return within this fiscal year. But then the families, because of the Appendix K flexibilities, the families decided to keep them at home. And as you can see, that totaled about $140,000 of revenue that we would have received in-house. Additionally, we did continue to see a reduction in our production contracts, as most of our production contracts that we had have moved to overseas to cheaper facilities. But we have taken a great initiative, and over 25 letters have gone out to different businesses locally as well as in RTP. We've gone over into Danville as well, and that has resulted so far in 1 on-site meeting, and we've also had an individual came by the office last week with the perspective of getting some additional contract work for our consumers. Please excuse me. Increased expenditures that we've had for this year, we've continued to have to sink money into our operating equipment at the recycling center, which will all be taken care of in our upgrade and merger. We have older equipment. This will all be taken care of. I have tried to do the best that I can with the vehicles that we have. I do not request vehicles usually year after year just because just trying to save money, but our vehicles are aging and they're requiring additional and pretty expensive repair costs. Scrap tire disposal rates have more than doubled this year, which will go into my next presentation of the tire and mattress shredder. But we've had an additional $30,000 in funding that has been needed for the disposal of tires. And this is the first time in 5 years that we have finally been fully staffed at both locations. And with the being fully staffed and also the pay study increases, that was a total of almost $300,000 in difference from our lines in fiscal '23 to this year. I provided you with a balance sheet that pretty much just kind of explains everything, and it shows our worst case scenario of the money that we would need to assure that our funding line would end the year in a surplus state. Some highlights: the estimated budget, of course, again, was off this year because of planned consumer returns. Our fiscal '25 revenues match our current in-house services. We should not be in this situation next year. We remain confident that our services and budget strength will continue to trend upward with the fully expired public emergency health as well as the merger of PI and the MRF. We remain confident that our services and our budget strength, like I said, will continue upwards. Any funds received regarding delayed revenues, the finance director will submit a budget amendment to return any advanced funds over the surplus back to the general fund. We have maintained a healthy budget and contributed to our fund balance year after year. Rebuilding from the setback of COVID requires a collective effort to not only restore what was lost, but to innovate and create a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable future. We are investing time, we are embracing changes and advancements, and ensuring that we provide substantial services to Person County. So as I stated, we are requesting $351,000 from the general fund to be transferred over to prevent a county audit from reporting a deficit fund to the PI MRF balance for fiscal '24.
And that's the first half of your presentation.
Yes, sir.
So we'll
That's
address
item
that.
number-
Any questions for Ms. Boss related to her request? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion for approval as requested. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, my second item, if IT would bring that presentation up, is you have all requested information in regards to solutions to mattress recycling, and as well as this would bring in opportunities for us to decrease the spending that we are currently using for tire shredding. And this is just a sustainable alternative to processing unwanted materials. So tire and mattress shredding offers many benefits that center around environmental sustainability and resource efficiency. Within Person County, will provide environmental protection, it'll provide job creation, and then it'll also have a substantial cost savings. So of course, we know what Person Industries' mission is. You guys have been extremely supportive in Person Industries in the Recycling Center, but we have a commitment and a support to missions that take courage, work, and structure, and also persistence. And we're dedicated to not only providing those services to the individuals with the needs, but we're also dedicated to preserving our environment, protecting our future, and keeping our county beautiful. The information that I've also provided you is just detailed information in regards to tire and mattress shredding, and that contributes to a more sustainable and circular economy, and it's turning waste into valuable resources and, of course, minimizing the environmental impact. Shredding of the tires and mattresses will reduce the volume. The shredded tires and mattresses before, when they were being disposed at the landfill, with it being shredded, will give us a substantially reduced volume when it's going into the landfill, and that means that more waste that needs to be accommodated there. Those tires and mattresses will not be taking up that space, and it can expand the lifespan and the delayed need for new landfill sites. It will improve the landfill compaction. Shredded material is more cost-effective in the landfill and for the compaction, and then allowing for better use of available space. This helps with the prevention of illegal dumping. I know we've had some issues around the county, especially with tires, and as Republic or Upper Piedmont puts in the fee for taking mattresses, which I was told from an email the other day that they planned on implementing that in January, which is $250 per mattress, that I'm sure that we will see an increase in illegal dumping. So some strategies that we can go along as far as tires are concerned, so this is for the shredder, there are certain regulations that we have to follow in regards to state statutes. Disposal of scrap tires, we can dispose of those either through recycling, chopping, or shredding. You cannot landfill whole scrap tires. I went and spent about a half a day out at the landfill to kind of view things, took a tour around the whole facility, was given a lot of information, and they received tires there as well. They are also having to pay substantial amounts to recycle these tires. There's also the use of the scrap tire tax that the county receives. Currently, this year, we are set to receive about $74,000 in scrap tire tax revenue. Those funds have to be used to process scrap tires. I did make sure that under the statute that didn't only mean recycling of the tires, it meant that it could be used towards machinery that helped with the shredding, the chopping, and those type of things. The cost-efficient strategies for local government scrap tire programs, there is currently a financial burden for the handling, transportation, and disposal of scrap tires. In the interest of being financially resourceful, the solid waste section would like local governments to consider the following cost-effective strategies, and that is lacing, documentation, consolidation, transportation, and scheduling, which PCRC currently follows all of these best practice guidelines. Different considerations, I was in contact with one of our individuals at NCDEQ, and they advised against shredding the product for a marketable material because currently the cost of equipment to be able to do that on top of the shredder is extremely costly. There is very process intensive. There are additional state regulations, and there are 2 existing companies within North Carolina who currently hold all the state contracts to receive that processed material back. Also, Republic Services has confirmed that they will accept the shredded material should we take this next step. All right, strategy for mattresses. Excuse me. The benefits to did I do that? Hello? Okay. Benefits to consider, the partnership that we would have with Republic Services. Cost savings for Person County businesses. The fees from Republic, I've provided you with those fees coming up. Shredded mattresses and box springs significantly reduces the volume by breaking down the material into smaller pieces. Currently, the landfill does not have a way to break down the material. So the reason they are implementing this fee is because the mattresses are getting caught up in their machinery where they're trying to pack down the material, and it's costing them tens of thousands of dollars in repairs and downtime when these mattresses get caught up in their machines. A PCRC shredder eliminates, like I said, wear, tear, and breakage to equipment. And cost-effective strategies, we can have a fee schedule where we charge to receive mattresses and box springs, which would only just be enough necessary to cover the cost associated with implementing and maintaining a shredder. There would be a financial burden for the handling, transportation, and disposal of mattresses set by Republic on county businesses and local government entities. Like I mentioned before, that is set to begin in January of 2025, and that is $250 per mattress. Consideration, Republic Service again has confirmed the acceptance of this shredded material. Shredding mattresses and box springs have proven to be very effective and beneficial. It provides the buffer that is needed at the landfill. And then for future resources, mattress and box spring material have the potential for recycling or repurposing. And there are some components like the metal springs and wood frames that can be separated and recycled as valuable resources. And I'm not sure why my financial screen is showing up black, but can you see it on your screen, or is it black? You can see it? Okay. So just kind of gave you a breakdown on what we receive every year from the scrap tire revenue as well as what we are spending. And so right now, as of current, we are set to receive about $74,000 from the scrap tire revenue. We are set to spend, as of last week, when I checked everything, we were already at over $87,000, and we had 4 more invoices left to pay, which is $1,600 a pop. So we're looking at spending well over $95,000 this year in just recycling tires. What we could do is that money that we receive from the scrap tire fund or the scrap tire revenue tax, that can be put towards the purchase of this shredder. In talking with other counties and what they do, and because of our size and what tires that we currently receive, I've budgeted that we could operate this shredder 2 days a week with just 2 part-time positions. We would not need additional full-time positions, and that would, the effect of the budget, would be $31,200 for 2 part-time individuals. Recycling versus shredding costs. Current tire recycling are costing us between $130 and $160 per ton. The reason that we have that difference is because some of the trailers weigh more than others. It is costing us $1,600 per load, no matter whether our trailer weighs 10 tons or whether it weighs 16 tons. It's a flat cost. Thank you so much. It's a flat cost of $1,600 per ton. The cost that it would have for us for tire shredding is only $5.35 per ton. That's how much it would cost for us to operate the shredder. The average disposal cost and tipping fee, it would cost us $57 and about $57.50 a ton for disposal for tires. So you're looking at almost a third of what, less than a third of what we are spending per ton to recycle versus what we would spend to shred and then take to the landfill. The fee schedule that I proposed that we'd set for this, if and when that this is accepted, I spoke to about 7 other counties close to us. Most of them were at $10 per mattress. Some were a lot more. New Hanover County was, they charge per ton. Orange County has 4 mattresses free, but I had proposed if we set mattresses at $10 per item as well as box springs at $10 per item, at a minimum, if we only receive 10 mattresses per week, that's an additional revenue of $5,200 a year. If we receive 20 mattresses a year, 20 mattresses a week, that's an additional revenue of $10,400 a year. We could then, in the proposal that I gave you, it includes it's called a cross belt magnet, and that would take the metal out of the material, and so we could sell that. That's a various rate depending on what scrap metal pricing are at that moment, but that's an additional revenue. And then because we are getting a scale with the upgrade to the MRF, we could begin taking tires from partnering counties, especially like Caswell County because they're so close to us, and we could charge them substantially less, but enough to bring in great revenues that pretty much double. We could charge them about $90 to $100 per ton in a tipping fee, where we were only paying $57. So we would make money off of taking their tires as well as making revenue from taking their material and then also saving from recycling, okay? Additional information that is needed in regards to this proposal, in speaking with my company that is doing our equipment at the current recycling center, they can help us with this machine as well. We would have to, they're working on getting an electrical engineer in to configure needs. That is part of our existing project. And so when they do that, they're gonna just go ahead and include that to make sure that we have enough for the machine amp and the horsepower that is drawed, because this is a very large machine. This machine can also be housed outside, so we would just have to figure out, but this quote will come later due to the scope of work. We would have to get a quote from a millwright company, and that's where I was telling you that Revolution Systems, who's putting in our sort line, our new baler, they can perform this work, and we have an existing contract with them for the MRF. We would have to have a heavy lift crane operator to move the material in, and then of course figure out the placement on the property. The individuals from Revolution Systems were down here 2 weeks ago. They spent 3 days with us to go over some information, and so we gave them this information just for them to give us some feedback, and they said that things looked like the layout of our property was very well to be able to include this type of system. There is also a proposal in there that I've provided for you from SSI Shredding Systems. And, let's see, over on this right here is a total of what all would be needed for the shredder. So I had on the other one that was submitted was $779,700 would be the amount of money for the machine, which includes the crossbelt magnet where we can extract the material, the metal from that, to also bring in an additional revenue. So that is pretty much all the information that I have, just to have been able to give you an update and provide you on what it would look like if you, if the commissioners decide eventually to go this route to have a tire and a mattress. This shredder could actually pretty much shred just about anything. So what we would start with is tires and mattresses. The guy that was giving me this, he's like, you can shred cars if you want to. And I'm like, no, we're not going to get into that. But it's just,
It would solve some problems.
it would solve some problems if you have those on the property, so on different properties that have been abandoned. But we would start with the tires and mattresses. My hopes is that there would be a great partnership with Republic and Upper Piedmont because of the savings that this would also entail for them, and that some kind of funding would be available for that as well. Do you have any additional questions? I know it's a lot of information, but I can provide you.
Not really. Tires and mattresses, and we'll just say scrap cars is in another category. But those are two really large problems, and we see those on the side of the road frequently. And to Republic's credit, they had originally planned to implement this $250 per mattress charge, what?
July of 23.
23,
Yes, sir.
So then they said, well, we'll wait until the first of the year.
Yes, sir.
Well, the first of this year, they still, honored our request.
Yes.
And so we have avoided that train wreck.
Yes, sir.
And, again, they're commendable for doing this and working with us. And this would be a long-term solution to mattresses. I was driving in the county last week and saw a mattress on the side of the road. I don't know that it would completely eliminate that, but it would put it at a minimum. So for mattress sales, that cost would be incorporated into the sale price. Is that how that would work? If you're gonna do $10 per mattress, how are you gonna get?
My thought was that the individuals would pay that kind of like they do when they drop off a TV at the recycling. We have a fee schedule. So they would pay that $10 when they brought it
Sometimes
to.
in mattress sales, they say we will pick up the old mattress, so.
Okay, yes, I guess that would probably, I'd have to work it out with the Furniture Mart and speak with them and, see how we could work that out for the revenue to come.
I think that's a minimal amount compared to 250.
Yes,
It's
sir.
very,
And
very
like I
low.
said, I spoke with, few counties. Orange County, after the 4 free mattresses, is $10. Wake County is 10. Alamance County is 5. New Hanover, like I said, they charge per ton. And then Gaston County is 10. Rockingham 10. Caswell County, they did not have, I could not get a hold of anyone to speak to, but they did not have anything on the website. And then, of course, I spoke to everyone at Upper Piedmont, seeing what what the official tonnage was per ton. It includes the fuel and environmental fee, which is pretty much a percentage of the disposal.
And you do tires the same way?
Yes, sir. So we can't charge for tires, unless, usually tires are brought to us, so we take the first 5 tires free, and then we charge $1 per tire. If it is a cleanup project in the county, there's a special form that they fill out for that, and the state reimburses us for that. And then businesses are exempt, on the form, so we have to have all of their information. So we don't necessarily charge for tires that come in, except if they're bringing them in from a different county. We can then charge when they roll across our scales. Okay? So, yes, so for instance, I did speak, like Caswell County is paying about $2,000 per tractor trailer load. That is equaling, about $200 per ton, where we could charge them $90 or $100 per ton, and it saves them money as well as gives us an additional revenue.
Sounds good. Questions?
I do have one. I'm noticing here electrical controls at 460 volts,
Yes.
575 volts, 60 hertz, 415 volts at 380 and 380 volts. Do we need to upgrade our power out there?
And that's what the engineer, the electrical engineer, that's what they would evaluate for us.
So they haven't reevaluated yet?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir. But they did say that they probably think that we would have to up.
Would that cost the county?
I am unsure of that. I'm sure, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking they would install, we would just pay for the power being used.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It seems right to me, but like I said, I
At
don't
my
know
home,
anything
that's
about
what-
that point.
They put the pole, they put the transformer.
Yes, sir.
I pay for the power.
Yes, that's where, because the new machinery that we're bringing in, our new baler
High
is
voltage.
increased horsepower. So they're they're doing the electrical engineering just to make sure that we're not going, we don't want to blow anything up over on
You got a
Martin Street.
6-inch You got a 6-inch shaft driving one of these motors.
Okay,
That's humongous. It's gonna pull a whole lot of amperage.
yes, yes.
That's all I need.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Just curious.
Good. Okay, do we have a motion related to the request of transfer of funds?
Are we transferring funds? We're
So,
we're not
right now,
transferring
we
funds
don't have
right
to
now.
do that.
Yeah,
I
this is
just
just to
kind of
provide
wanted an
feedback.
approval, wanted feedback, and if you were at a point where you wanted to
Okay.
provide an approval for me to take the next steps
Yes.
to get more detailed information and the additional costs that would
Okay.
be considered in this.
My notes were a little confusing, I guess, but my note was saying request for transfer of funding, but okay, I'm good.
But, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to,
Take the next step.
have her take the next step and move forward.
Okay?
Moving forward. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for all your
Thank you.
support. We appreciate it.
Next item is item number 8, Person County Business and Industrial Center, structure, and Madam Clerk, do you have some paperwork there to be shared?
Just trying to
Just
see
note for the
who,
commissioners.
there's 5 copies.
Okay. we're gonna share.
Yes, ma'am. Note this one.
Okay, thank you, sir. There have been recent discussions regarding the overall structure of the Person County Business and Industrial Center, which we commonly call PCBIC or PCBIC, some have nicknamed it, and its operation as a nonprofit. PCBIC was organized in the early 90s for the purpose of supporting businesses in Person County and bring new business and industry into the county. PCBIC did a great job of doing just that in the early days of its existence. However, since those days, there has been very little that PCBIC can claim as success other than being supportive of EDC projects and distributions of funds for those projects using clawback money or clawback funds and very limited revenues from other sources. There's been no financial supportive actions by PCBIC as a non-profit. No engagement with business and industry and the private sector to raise funds in support of their stated goals, objectives, and mission statement. The only business and industry attractions plural has been through the EDC department. PCBIC has a place in Person County's future as an active and functioning nonprofit, but not under the original governance structure. Change in the organizational structure, bylaws, vision, and mission statement is needed for future success. And on your paperwork there, I've provided the following summary list of suggested changes that have been shared with PCBIC previously, and I recommend working with PCBIC to implement these and or other changes in becoming a true nonprofit, raising funds free of taxpayer money, in becoming a thriving, self-supporting organization supporting business and industry in Person County. So I've got a summary list there. The first one was separation of EDC and PCBIC. Currently, the two are essentially one organization. Is there a need for both? That's a question to be thought and decided. If an EDC board does exist, no member of that board can serve on the PCBIC board and vice versa, as it currently functions. The two should have separate bank accounts, where those should be established and controlled by PCBIC officers and staff, and not EDC staff. Secretarial duties should be done by a PCBIC officer, not the EDC staff. Relocate PCBIC office to a neutral location. Separation of the two would allow PCBIC to function as a true, self-perpetuating nonprofit without budgeting of taxpayer funds to support its missions. Separation would give free range for PCBIC to be involved in political and lobbying efforts to support goals and objectives, avoiding local political conflicts and influence. Number two, revision of bylaws to address changes in structure, operational procedures, officers, committee appointments, fundraising goals, and other internal procedures are needed. Bylaw revisions are long overdue. And number three, transfer of PCBIC title property to the county. The current ownership structure creates a third-party entity, and that would be the county, EDC, and PCBIC when negotiating with clients. And a current example of that is the donut hole property that is titled to PCBIC, yet much needed in the negotiations with the mega park discussions and negotiations. Number four would be separation of the organizations will eliminate paying two different attorneys. No offense meant, sir.
No taken, sir.
Number three, yeah, the current ownership structure creates a third party. Okay, got that. Donut hole separation, would avoid double payment, I guess. And then number five, separation of the two allows a clear path to transparency and accountability. It eliminates overlapping jurisdiction, control, and accountability. So my plea to this board is, as the appointing board of PCBIC and EDC members, the BOC is accountable to the taxpayer at the end of the day. The need for change is clearly before us. It's been discussed several times before. It's imperative that we do the right thing in assisting PCBIC in becoming the nonprofit organization it was intended to be, functioning independently of budgeted taxpayer funds. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, but my request of you gentlemen here today would be that we take these recommendations to PCBIC at the next meeting, which I believe is maybe July 23rd. I don't believe they have a meeting scheduled this month, but so that's my request of you, that we move forward and take these recommendations to the PCBIC board and have some discussions there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your thoughts and what you put into this, and there are things that I would agree, but being that I just received this recommendation, and we do have one commissioner that is not present, and this is kind of a hot topic issue, I feel it would be appropriate for every member of this board to digest this and table it, and we have our next scheduled meeting in July 15th, which would be before the PCBIC board meeting. So, Mr. Chairman, I would deem it appropriate to table this and have it scheduled at our next board meeting for full board input on that.
Any other discussion?
I agree.
I have
There's a lot
no
to take
problem.
in, and
Yeah, I have no problem.
I'd like some time to think about this.
It's important.
Absolutely.
Could be controversial, but it's important, so I don't have a great issue with that. So we'll, do have a motion to table to the July 15th meeting. Any further discussion?
I can inject that I have spoken to three of those PCBIC board members, and I've let them know that we were looking at separating the two, and they agreed with me that it's probably gonna happen. So that's I think a plus on my thoughts.
So, motion to table. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Okay, item number 9 is appointment to.
17th.
15th, yeah. Appointments to boards and committees. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Good morning, board members. It's that time of year again for boards and committees, so I do have a long list before you. So the first one I'd like to present is the ABC Board.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve John Bratcher.
Have a motion to appoint John Bratcher to the EDC Board. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Bridget Jones.
Okay. Any others? Okay, we have Ms. Jones and Bratcher as two separate motions. Either one would offset the other. All in favor of Jones being the last one, please say aye.
Aye.
No.
No.
Oh. Got that?
Got it.
One. So then that does not require that we vote on, Mr. Bradshaw would be
That is
for us.
correct, and we only had the one position available.
Is that correct? You okay? That's it?
That's correct. If you have a majority of the commissioners voting for one of the appointments, then that passes.
Okay, all right. And next,
The next one we have is the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. There are 5 positions available. However, we only received one application, from one applicant.
all right, you ready?
This is a reappointment?
This is a reappointment.
Okay. I make a motion, we reappoint Ms. Haynes to this position on the Adult Daycare Community Accessory Advisory Committee.
Okay, we have, one available and one request. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
The next one we have is the Animal Services Advisory Committee. There are 2 positions available. We did receive 2 applications, one of which is a reappointment.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we reappoint Ms. Breen and appoint Ms. Holly Yarborough to the position.
Okay, we have motion on the floor. All in favor of motion there, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
The next one we have is the Board of Equalization and Review. We have 1 position available to fill an unexpired term to February 28, 2025. We did receive 1 application.
I hope he knows what he's getting into.
He's been around a long time, he should know.
All right, motion to appoint Larry King.
Okay, we have a motion for appointment of Larry King. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
The next one we have is the Board of Health. So this is gonna be a lengthy list. Most of these are for reappointment. So we do have 1 position available for a doctor, a nurse, and a veterinarian, and also 2 positions available for members of the general public. So for a nurse, Ms. Clayton requests reappointment. May I ask the desire of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I say we reappoint Ms. Clayton for the nurse position.
Motion for reappointment of Ms. Clayton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Okay.
For a general public, Mr. Edelblut requests reappointment, and also Ben Tillett requests reappointment, and Gerald Wallace requests appointment. So you have 3 from the general public, with only 2 positions available.
Motion for Philip and Ben Tillett for reappointment.
Motion on the floor for Mr. Elderbrook and Tillett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
We have 1 position for a veterinarian, and Barbara Harris requests reappointment.
Like to reappoint, Ms. Harris to this position.
Motion to approve Barbara Harris as veterinarian. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
We have the position for a doctor, and Kenneth Strawn request appointment.
I'd like to recommend that we nominate Kenneth Strong to the doctor's position.
Have a motion for approval of Dr. Strong to that position. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
The next one we have is the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee. So this is 1 position for a citizen residing in each of the following townships. So the Holloway, Olive Hill, Roxborough, and 1 in Woodsdale to fill unexpired term to December of 2024. We received 1 application for reappointment for the Roxborough Township.
Motion to approve Cheryl Allen.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one we have is the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. That is 2 positions available for a citizen under the age of 21, representing the interest of families and at-risk juveniles, and also 1 position available for each of the following: a juvenile defense attorney, a member of the faith community, a United Way or nonprofit agency rep, and up to 4 citizen at-large positions. We got 2 reappointments. One was for the nonprofit agency representative, and then a faith community representative.
I'd like to nominate and reappoint Ms. Fardy as well as Ms. McCoy.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one we have is the Library Advisory Board. There are 3 positions available. We do have 7 applicants interested in this position. There are, would you like for me to read the names, or do you?
We see him.
Read them.
All right. Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve Jonathan Bratcher, Charles Harvey, and Elizabeth McCoy.
3 recommendations. All in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one is the Nursing Home Advisory Committee. It's 5 positions available. We have 1 reappointment.
I'd like to reappoint Ms. Rhonda Haynes for the advisory committee.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one is the PATS Transportation Advisory Board. 1 position available for each of the following: a school system representative, a vocational rehab representative, a representative of senior services, and a representative of economic development or the Chamber of Commerce.
So how many are we nominating here? 3?
So it would be 1 for each position, so.
1 for each position,
Mhm.
okay. Well,
So it'd be
I
4.
like all 4 of them, so I'd like to appoint Greenwald, Harper, Maynell, Lisa Jeffers, and Mr. Walter Montgomery.
And let me point out, Reverend Greenwald is a citizen at large. He does not fit the criteria
Okay.
for the positions available.
Oh, so we only have 3 to choose from. Okay, well, scratch his name off.
So, that's your motion.
Maynell Harper, Ms. Lisa Jeffers, and Mr. Walter Montgomery.
Okay.
All 3 are reappointments.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one is the Person Castle Lake Authority. We do have 1 position available. These are all 3 new applications.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Anna Hester Martin for appointment.
Have a motion on the floor. Any others? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one is Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees. We have 1 position available, and this person requests reappointment.
I'd like to nominate and reappoint Mr. Joel Adler.
Have a motion on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carried.
The next one is the Planning Board. There's 2 positions available. I do have to mention that I did receive 1 more application for consideration other than what you do see in your packet. I received that application late. It was received on June 14th. We had a deadline date of June the 6th. May I please have direction from the board as to whether or not you would like to consider this application?
We had the 3 that applied on time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agree.
All right, so there's 2 positions available. There's 3 applicants before you.
Motion to appoint Cynthia Lynch and Stephen McFarland.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried.
All right, the last one that we do have is the Recreation Advisory Board. You have one in front of you that requests appointment with 2 positions available. I did receive an application from the Director of Parks and Rec this morning. This person would like consideration considering we do not have any other applicants.
What's the person's name
This is a reappointment.
or reappointment?
Consider we accept an
And-
application.
If you are considering the request, I'll pass around this person's application.
And there's 2 spots open and
There are
available.
2 positions available.
Since there's 2 spots open, I'd be willing to look at the application.
I think it's just a single copy, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve Mr. Kirk Redmond and John Bird for the position, Recreation Advisory Board.
Nominations on the floor, any others? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried.
Thank you, Chairman and Board.
So y'all done? Good, thank you. That was a long list. Okay. That we're all done. For Chairman's report, among a few things that went on in the past couple of weeks, I did attend the NCACC Legislative Day in Raleigh, and observed two sides of our legislature, I guess we'd say. One on Tuesday night and one on Wednesday morning, very informative as to how they run our business in Raleigh, and it was good. And we also talked with our elected representatives, Greg Meyer and Ray Jeffers, and made our plea for county needs going forward in the budget, and of course, appreciation to them in support of some projects that we have currently going on in Person County, and good meetings, and there with Manager Kathy, and also Commissioner Sims was there on Wednesday morning.
He attended steering committee meetings on Tuesday afternoon, and then the
Or
breakfast and meetings
Okay.
Wednesday morning.
Okay. Did have the honor, I'll say, of welcoming the people to the Willow Oak Music Park. They had a big event this past weekend. I'm sure our law enforcement people were invited to attend, but very good event, and a very good venue for Person County. It does attract a lot of people in our county, and very appreciative of Mr. Wilson and his family for providing that opportunity for people to come into the county, and also spoke at the public hearing for the Utilities Commission last Thursday evening, and made our plea for future generation in Person County with the planned combined cycle generating plants here in Person County, and that also was attended by our manager, PCBC rep, and a public citizen, I would say, a concerned citizen. But anyway, we did make our plea to the Utilities Commission in their going forward with with their plans and hope that Person County will certainly continue to be a focal point of power generation for not only Person County, but the entire region, North Carolina and the region. So that's my report. Manager Kathy?
Well, I'd like to say thanks again for the board for your action to adopt the fiscal year 25 operating budget. We are eager to get that implemented as of July 1st. I'd like to thank staff for all the great teamwork in pulling that together this year. Of course, it's involvement from all departments and hard work on their part, but especially I'd like to commend finance staff's efforts to get us to where we are this morning. So thank you, Amy and Tracy and everyone else who had a role in the budget process this year. I hope that everybody enjoys your brief summer break. We will be taking the first meeting in July off and coming back July 15th for the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Palmer?
Excuse me, I did consult with CCR Thursday of last week, I believe. Spent about 45 hours on the phone with the two ladies. They're scheduled to come tomorrow and Wednesday to do reval or consultation with some of the employees with DSS. I was quite shocked Saturday night. They had this Veterans Council concert over here. So I walked up here to the roundabout and I talked to two police patrol officers, and they said there wasn't about 50 people that had attended. I was really, really shocked that that was so low of a count of citizens for a free concert. Now that was around 7 o'clock, so that's when the main band was going to start, so it could have picked up somewhat. I hope it did. So that's all I have.
Mr. Puryear?
No report.
Commissioner Thomas?
Just like to echo county manager and thank the finance department for all the hard work for this budget. There's a lot on y'all's shoulders as well as ours, but thank you for all your hard work, and the county manager, as your hard work as well.
Thank you. Okay, at this point in our meeting, we do need to go into closed session number 1, a motion to enter into closed session number 1 per general statute 143, 318, 11A3 for the purpose to consult with county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege with the following individuals permitted to attend: county manager Kathy Clark Solomon, attorney Morphus, health director Janet Clayton, environmental health services supervisor Bonnie Holt, and economic development director Brandy Lynch. We have a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session number 1.
Motion to go
And
into
2.
closed session number 1. All in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Mr. Chairman. Go
Yeah.
ahead, sir. You're gonna say the same.
I skipped over a note here. In addition to the previously statement or previous statement, also to include mainstream the Person County, that's a new one, Person County Earthworks will be discussed at the same time.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion to go into closed session for those issues, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. We'll take about light. Okay, so we're back in open session. Do we have motion related to business?
Mr. Chairman, authorize the county manager for a budget amendment from contingency in the amount of $20,000 to legal services.
Have a motion on the floor. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Thank y'all.
Catherine, Michelle, do you all have 5 minutes to talk about closed